The door wouldn't open. Have you ever had a moment where your brain just refuses to accept what's happening? Where reality feels wrong? Because that's exactly what it felt like. One second, we were sitting at the dinner table, plates still warm, my daughter laughing about something silly, my sister, Carla, smiling like nothing in the world was out of place. But before we continue, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. And the next? The fire alarm screamed. Loud, sudden, violent. I remember the exact sound of my chair scraping against the floor as I stood up. My heart didn't race at first. It dropped. Instinct took over. "Maya, come here." My 6-year-old didn't even question it. She ran straight into my arms. And Carla? She moved first. That's what still haunts me. Before I even reached the hallway, she was already there, already moving, already gone. I didn't think about it at the time. You don't in moments like that. You assume people are reacting normally. You assume your family wouldn't leave you behind. I grabbed Maya tighter and ran to the front door. Smoke was already starting to creep along the ceiling. Too fast. Way too fast. I reached for the handle, turned it. Nothing. I tried again, harder. Still nothing. "Mommy?" Maya's voice was small, fragile. "It's okay," I told her. But it wasn't. I could feel it wasn't. I twisted the lock again, pulled, slammed my shoulder into the door. It didn't move. And then I realized something that made my stomach drop even harder than the alarm had. The lock wasn't jammed. It was locked. From the outside. I froze. "Carla?" I shouted. No answer. I rushed to the window, wiping condensation and smoke away with my sleeve. And that's when I saw her, outside, walking away. Not running for help, not screaming, not even looking back, just leaving. My chest tightened. My grip on Maya shook. Why would she leave? Why would she lock us in? I reached for my phone. No signal. One bar flickering, then gone. Behind me, the smoke thickened. Darker now, lower. Maya started coughing, and in that moment, one thought cut through everything else. This wasn't an accident. And if I didn't figure out what was really happening, we weren't getting out. She knew that door wouldn't open. That thought didn't come all at once. It crept in, slow, quiet, almost like the smoke filling the room. At first, I told myself I was overreacting. Carla had always been intense, a little controlling, sure, but this? No, this didn't make sense. Except, things weren't adding up. Let me ask you something. Have you ever ignored a red flag because it came from someone you trusted? Because that's exactly what I did. Carla had called me that afternoon, out of nowhere. "Dinner tonight," she said. Not asked, said. "You and Maya. No excuses." We hadn't spoken in years, 7 to be exact, not since the mess with our parents' estate. I got the house, she got less. She never said it outright, but the resentment, it was always there. Still, she sounded different that day. Warm, almost eager. So I said yes. And now, standing in that smoke-filled hallway, I started replaying every second of that night. The way she insisted I sit on the left side of the table. The way she locked the front door earlier and casually said, "Neighborhood's not safe anymore." The way the windows didn't budge when I tried them earlier, painted shut like they hadn't been opened in years. At the time, it felt odd. Now, it felt planned. "Maya, stay close to me," I said, pulling her shirt over her nose. The air was getting thicker, harder to breathe. I ran to the back door, locked. Of course it was. The key that should have been hanging on the wall hook? Gone. My pulse spiked. This wasn't panic anymore. This was clarity. Someone had set this up. I grabbed a chair and swung it at the nearest window. The impact cracked the glass, but it didn't shatter. Reinforced, of course. Behind me, the heat intensified. I could feel it crawling up my back. "Mama, it hurts," Maya whispered, her voice breaking into coughs. "I know, baby, I know. Just stay with me." I hit the glass again, harder this time. A fracture spread across it like a web. Then, sirens. Faint, but getting closer. Relief surged for half a second, until I heard something else. A voice. Outside. Carla. I froze, pressing closer to the broken glass, straining to hear. She wasn't shouting for help. She wasn't panicking. She was talking, calmly, and what she said next made my blood run cold. I tried to get them out, but it spread too fast. She wasn't panicking. She was explaining. I pressed closer to the cracked window, ignoring the sting in my lungs, trying to hear every word. Outside, Carla stood near the front yard, one hand over her chest like she was out of breath, but her voice? Steady, controlled. "I told them to come out," she said to a neighbor, but the fire, it just spread too fast. Too fast. The same words she used, but not the same fear. Do you see it? She wasn't reacting to the fire. She was narrating it, like it had already happened, like the ending was already decided. My stomach twisted. She wasn't trying to save us. She was setting the story. Behind me, something cracked loudly, wood giving way as the fire pushed deeper into the house. Heat surged forward, forcing me back toward the window. Time was gone. "Maya," I said, grabbing her shoulders, "you need to climb out, right now." She shook her head immediately, eyes wide. "It's too high." I looked down. She was right. It wasn't a simple drop. It was far enough to hurt, maybe worse for a 6-year-old. But staying? That wasn't an option. "Listen to me," I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. "You have to trust me." Another crack behind us, louder this time. Flames were starting to break through the hallway ceiling. I didn't wait. I wrapped my arms around her, lifted her onto the window frame, ignoring the shards cutting into my hands. "Close your eyes," I whispered. And then, I pushed. A small scream, a thud outside. My heart stopped. But then, "Mom!" Alive. Relief hit, but only for a second, because now it was my turn. I pulled myself up, the heat roaring behind me, flames reaching closer. And as I climbed out, I looked up, straight into Carla's eyes. No shock, no relief, just one thing. Disappointment. She didn't expect us to survive. That was the first clear thought that cut through the chaos as my feet hit the ground outside. Cold air slammed into my lungs. I dropped to my knees beside Maya, pulling her close, checking her face, her arms, anything I could see through the smoke and tears. "I'm okay," she coughed. "Mom, I'm okay." But I barely heard her, because I was looking at Carla. Have you ever seen someone switch emotions instantly? 1 second, her face was blank, tight, controlled, and the next, "Elena!" she screamed, rushing toward us. "Oh my God, you're alive!" Alive, like it was unexpected. She dropped to her knees beside us, reaching out, but I pulled Maya back before she could touch her. For a split second, something flickered across Carla's face. Not concern. Annoyance. Then it vanished. Sirens wailed closer now. Neighbors gathered at the edge of the yard, murmuring, pointing, watching the house behind us burn brighter with every second. Carla turned toward them, voice louder now, shaking on purpose. I tried to unlock the door," she cried. "It wouldn't open. I swear, it jammed." I stared at her. Jammed? No, locked, from the outside. And then I noticed something else. Her clothes. Clean. No soot, no ash. No signs she had even stepped near the fire after leaving. Not even her hands were dirty. But she kept talking, filling the air with her version. "They were closer to the kitchen," she told one of the neighbors. "That's probably where it started." My chest tightened. That wasn't true. The fire didn't start in the kitchen. It started near the hallway, near the door, near the exit. Fire trucks screeched to a stop. Firefighters rushed in, pulling hoses, shouting commands. Someone guided me and Maya further back, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders. I held on to her tightly, but my eyes never left Carla. Because now, the pieces were starting to lock into place. The invitation, the locked doors, the missing key, the fire starting where escape would be hardest. This wasn't random. This was arranged. A firefighter ran past, shouting something to his team, something about how fast the flames were moving. "Accelerant," I heard faintly. That word landed heavy. Not an accident. Not even close. Carla turned back toward me then, stepping closer while everyone else was distracted. She leaned in just enough so only I could hear her. Her voice dropped, flat, quiet. "You were supposed to stay inside." My blood ran cold. I didn't respond. I couldn't, because in that moment, one thing became painfully clear. This wasn't over. Not even close. 3 days later, she was begging. 3 days later, she was begging. Not in the way you'd expect, not dramatic, not loud. Desperate. But by then, everything had already unraveled. The fire investigators didn't take long. The pattern of the flames told a story Carla couldn't control. Burn marks traced along the hallway, right near the exits. Not the kitchen. Not an accident. An entry point. They found chemical residue. Accelerant. Deliberate. Then came the footage. A neighbor's security camera, angled just enough to catch the front of Carla's house. It showed her stepping outside, and then, very clearly, reaching back, locking the door, from the outside. That was it. That was the moment her entire story collapsed. Phone records followed, search about insurance payouts, property disputes, legal loopholes. Dates lined up perfectly with the day she called me. It wasn't impulsive. It was planned. Carla Nyan was arrested and charged with attempted murder and arson. And suddenly, the woman who stood so confidently in that yard lost everything. Family cut her off. No one defended her. Neighbors who once waved now avoided even saying her name. And me? I sat in a quiet room at the station, hearing it all laid out piece by piece. I didn't feel shock. I felt confirmation, like my instincts had been right all along. Later that night, Maya looked up at me and asked, "Are we safe now?" And for the first time since that fire, I didn't hesitate. "Yes," I told her. "We are." Carla tried calling, again and again from jail. I never answered. Some doors, once closed, stay that way. A week later, Maya and I returned home. New locks, new routines, same house, but everything felt different, quieter, safer. And as I tucked her into bed that night, I realized something simple. She tried to end our story.